It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, doing a special video essay on a phenomenon that's been really irritating the living daylights out of me for a number of years now, and that is grammatical laziness, misuse of plural personal pronouns, and the abuse of identity politics to shove bad grammar down all of our throats. This essay is going to be a wild ride. There's going to be some profanity throughout, so if you've got small children, you might want to send them out of the room. But if you don't, or if you've just got a strong constitution, or you just don't care, keep them around. It's your choice. But anyway, let's get down to business. So, the misuse of plural pronouns they, them, and their to describe singular antecedents. This is the phenomenon born of a problem in the English language, in that there is no set, official gender-neutral singular personal pronoun. There are masculine or feminine pronouns, such as he, him, and his for people who identify as male, and she, her, and hers for people who identify as female. But if you don't identify as either, or if you're a writer and you're writing about people whose genders you don't know, that presents something of a problem, because how do you get around this? Well, for many centuries, and indeed many decades, especially in the 20th and 21st centuries, it was very simple. If you follow the rules set down by Strunk and White in Elements of Style, or Diana Hacker in Rules for Writers, well, you simply pick a gender and stick with it and be consistent. You can also use he or she, but that can get a little clunky if you overuse it. You can rewrite the sentence to make the antecedent plural. For example, students, plural, should hand in their work before the bell rings. Sometimes that's not always possible, but you can also rewrite the sentence so as to make pronouns unnecessary, which is in keeping with Strunk, who was an advocate of eliminating needless words. Now, a lot of people make a dishonest argument that says it's perfectly acceptable to use they, them, and their because it's been done for centuries. The thing is, plural pronouns are plural because they always refer to more than one individual person, place, or thing. That is, there is only one of you. One. Not two, not three, not four, just one. And by making the argument that Chaucer, the foremost English poet who lived between 1343 and 1400, and William Shakespeare, who lived from 1564 to 1616, is that these guys were writing before there was such things as dictionaries and rules of grammar. In fact, Samuel Johnson, who lived from 1709 to 1784, came up with the first formal and officially adopted English dictionary, and a man by the name of Lindley Murray came up with the first officially adopted book on English grammar. Now, there had, of course, been previous attempts to come up with dictionaries and grammar books, but these were based on Latin and followed the rules of Latin, and those didn't quite work out. So for English, you actually had Samuel Johnson and Lindley Murray. Now, Johnson, for his part, decided to come up with a dictionary, primarily because he was frustrated at the consistent inconsistency in the spelling of words. So he published in 1755 a book of words where he attempted to have a consistent set of spellings for words in English. And, although things have changed since then, it's been more or less consistent, is that there is a standardized spelling in English for the words that we use in everyday communication. Now, British English is slightly different from American English in that some of their words are spelled differently and some of the terms that they use are used differently. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same. Standard spellings for the words that we use in English. Now, 40 years later, Lindley Murray published one of the earlier books on English grammar. And again, look at the dates, 1755, 1795. When were Chaucer and Shakespeare writing? In the 14th and 16th and 17th centuries, respectively. I mean, you could make the argument that we've been using singular they for centuries, so why change anything now? Well, people have been dumping their raw sewage in their backyards and streets and in our drinking water for centuries, but that doesn't mean that we should really keep doing it. So yeah, that's a dishonest argument. Another thing that has been presented by proponents of singular they is to abuse identity politics in order to stifle dissent against their lazy and bad grammar. Many non-binary or gender-fluid persons falsely accuse people who insist on using proper grammar of being transphobic. This is dishonest because it ignores the existence of singular gender-neutral personal pronouns such as ze or here. It's a classic straw man argument. Essentially what you're doing is you're accusing the person being browbeaten of making arguments he or she never actually made, which is then labeled as transphobic. And it's, basically done by SJWs on the left who really they like to be coddled, and no one is ever allowed to say, hey, you're being lazy, you're being stupid, and you want a reward for getting things wrong. No, you have to be transphobic because only a transphobic person would do that. So there are words such as ze and here, which somebody went through the trouble of inventing in order to get around this, because these people were not willing to go ahead and use improper grammar in order to come up with a gender-neutral singular pronoun. And that's fine, you come up with that, and, you get around the problem. But here's the thing. People who say, wait, aren't you doing what singular they proponents are doing, which is, basically making shit up and arbitrarily rewriting the rules of grammar? No. The people who came up with ze and here did so out of a genuine progressive effort to solve the dilemma of the English language not having gender-neutral singular personal pronouns. Proponents of singular they, by contrast, insist on using a non-solution that is lazy and does not even attempt to resolve the problem at hand. It's a regressive ploy that takes us back to a time before we had flushing toilets. I mean, again, you could go ahead and keep dumping raw sewage into our drinking water, but, just because we've been doing it forever. But that's still a bad idea, because at the end of the day, it's bad and it stinks. Instead of accepting the genuine efforts of progressive grammarians, however, to solve a very real problem in English, proponents of singular they would rather force the rest of us to be as lazy and stupid as they are, which is why the publishers of modern English dictionaries, under extreme pressure, have caved in and adopted the use of plural personal pronouns to reference singular antecedents as acceptable. But using plural personal pronouns to describe single individuals is no more acceptable than dumping raw sewage into our streets and drinking water. It's a massive step backwards that only serves to further divide an already fragmented society plagued by the very real disease of bigotry against LGBTQ plus persons. And gender-neutral singular pronouns. Like Z and here, while not perfect, are nevertheless the best way to solve the very real problems garnered by a lack of such words in the English language, and are in fact far more respectful in nature than the plural pronouns now in popular use, as they do not insult the intelligence of ordinary English speakers who care about proper grammar, nor do they seek to impose by way of social bullying the arbitrary rewriting of the rules of grammar. Z and here, use them. If you cannot follow the guidelines laid down by Strunk and White or Diana Hacker, or if you wish to be progressive in referring to gender fluid, non-binary persons, you can use Z and here. Use them. Make the people who publish dictionaries and grammar books adopt these as the official gender-neutral singular pronouns. Or you can fuck off. It's your choice, really. And that's it. This is Michael Wilk for the Wilk Report, saying take care, good night, use proper grammar, and if you don't, I will verbally bitch slap you into craven submission. Take care, good night, I'm out of here.